Guys, welcome back to my YouTube channel. So today's video is a sew along video of this beautiful bucket hat that I made using a free pattern online from Mold Fabrics. I'll link it somewhere in the description box, so you go check it out and ensure to download yours from Mold Fabrics and sew along with me in this video. Thank you, Mold Fabrics, for this pattern. So I don't know if this is a norm, mostly in Nigerian homes, where a kid sister makes away or takes the elder one's belongings without their knowledge, without letting them know, because this is just what happens to me. This is just what happened to me. Yeah, it's a no, because I actually did it to my elder sisters. Yes, I did it to them, and man, that period, it's also funny. So my kid sister returned back from the uni, and when she was going back to uni, she took my bucket hat without my knowledge. I didn't even know. The Adire hat that you're seeing on your screen right now, it was even when she got to school that I called her to, ask her about it, and man, she took it. So I've always longed to make a bucket hat for myself, and I don't know how to go about it before I saw this free pattern online. So I decided to try it out and see the outcome, and I'm so amazed. I'm so happy with the outcome of this. So this bucket hat is actually a reversible one because it has two faces. Yeah, this is the black side. I use this leather fabric to make this other side. Yeah, let me just put it on here. So this is the look of the black side. You can decide to style it anywhere, anyhow you want. So yeah, so guys, if this is what interests you, ensure to stay to the end so you can follow the step-by-step process in making this beautiful bucket hat. So these are my patterns from Mold Society. I'll link it in the description box below. It comes in 8 pages. The first 2 pages are basically for instructions and size guide. The rest of the 6 pages are the main pattern for this bucket hat. The good thing about this pattern is that it comes in 8 sizes that ranges from 1-year-old to an adult, that's SL. So you will check out for the head circumference you're working with. For this is E. So I will check out where E is, and this is where size E is. So I will note the type of line it is, and that will serve as a guide for me. If you read patterns, you should understand what I'm trying to say now, but I'll break it down to your understanding as we go on in this tutorial. If you note on the pattern, they indicated 1, 2, like numbering it, and 3 as well, so it will serve as a guide on how to join it. So I'll place it this way and mask it up using my masking tape for this. So I will do that and I will show you what it looks like. I went ahead to mask it up, and this is the full pattern for this bucket hat. So after this, now I will cut it out. So to cut this out now, the head circumference I'm working with is 23 inches, and 23 inches is E. I will check it on the size line, that's the size E. I'll note the size line key, like noting the way the line is being drawn. To make it easier for me, from size H I will count up 1, 2, 3, 4. So I will count it also on the main pattern for the bucket hat, 1, 2, 3, 4. So this is the line I'm going to cut out. The same thing I'll do here, 1, 2, 3, 4. I'll do the same thing for the other pattern, and I'll cut it out like so. I took my time to review this pattern, and there was not much sewing instructions for it, and the one I read at was 1/2 inch seam allowance already included in this pattern, so there was no need for me to add extra seam allowance. So if you're to draft for yourself or making for a client and you want to keep the pattern, I would advise you bring in a new pattern paper and trace it just this way on top of it, then cut it out. But for this pattern, I just want to make it for myself, and I will cut it out directly just the way I am doing right now. I'm done cutting, this is the full pattern for this bucket hat. So the instructions on the pattern is that for this base pattern, for the base, you say we should cut two of the base, and for the crown we cut one, then for the brim you cut two of it. This is the fabric I'll be using for this bucket hat, my Ankara piece, and this leather fabric that I so much love the texture and the look. Then this is the interfacing I'll be using, which is hairstay. I went ahead to cut it out, and this is all the patterns and the fabrics to be using for it. So I cut two of the brim, two of the base, and one for the crown. So I went ahead to also cut the interfacing and ironed it just this way. So after ironing it, and iron both on the leather fabric and the Ankara fabric as well. So I use the interfacing for the both of them. So this is just everything that I worked on. So we'll work on the brim for now. So to work on the brim, I will bring it out and I will separate them, matching them up front facing front, and I'll go over to my sewing machine now, and I'm going to stitch it all the way this side, this other side, same thing for the leather fabric. I will stitch it this side and this side as well. So this is the outcome. I went ahead also to iron the seam open. So I ironed the seam open for the leather fabric and the Ankara fabric. I'll place it front facing front, and I'll go over to my sewing machine to stitch it. I'll make sure the both line match, like the joining match with each of them for the leather fabric and the Ankara fabric. So I'll stitch it around there, and this is the look. I went ahead now to notch it. After stitching it, I'll notch it around so that when I turn it inside out, it will be able to relax very well. So I will turn it now just this way I am doing right now. So after turning it now, I'm making sure that everything is out. I'll go over now to iron it and let it relax very well. And this is the look after ironing it. So I went ahead to press it down, and this is just it. I'll keep this aside and bring in the base to work on. So this is the base for this bucket hat. I'll do the same thing I did for the brim, facing it front facing front, and go ahead to my sewing machine to stitch it just that place. And this is the look after I finished stitching it. So I went ahead also to iron the seam open, and this is just it. So I will bring in the crown, and for the crown it's just one piece for the leather and Ankara fabric. I'll place it this way, yeah, noting the up and the down of the base. So I'll place it on the upper part of the base, and I'll fold the crown this way, trying to notch it to note the center. So I'll notch it at this end, and I will also fold it very well and notch it at the other end as well. So these notches will serve as a guide while joining it. I'll place the notched part to the seam of the base. So I will use my pin to pin it just from there, and I'll go over to the other side and place it at the notched parts, and I'll pin it just this way. So this side is a bit tricky, so you might notice some excess while stitching around this place. So you just have to find your way around it. I think this is just where the pattern went. I don't know, it was just a bit big around that area. I was able to use my pin to pin it, and at the same time trying to make it to lap very well. So I'll head over to my sewing machine now to stitch it round that place, and this is just how it looks like. So if you notice on the joining I just made now, there are excess, like the crown was a bit bigger than the base, so I was able to find my way around it. I'll trim off the excess that I have there. I will trim it off this way before we continue for this tutorial. So after trimming off the excess that we had, I will turn it inside out. After turning it out, I'll bring in the brim, and I'm going to match up the brim to the base for this bucket hat, and I'll match it to the seam lines. So for the side seam for the base, I'll match it with the side seam for the brim, just the way I am doing right now. So I'll go over to use my pin to pin it just this way, and I will pin the other side, the side seams matching each other. So I will pin it using my pin. So after pinning it now, I will head over to my sewing machine to stitch it. This is the way it looks on the right side. So I'm going to stitch it round this place. I'll stitch it around this place and show you what it looks like. So after stitching it, this is what it looks like after stitching it. I'm going ahead to stitch it around that place. I'll bring in the leather fabric for the bucket hat, and to give this hat a neat finishing, I'm going to turn it in out. Like, I'm going to place it front facing front, and I'm going to use the leather fabric to turn the whole bucket hat, just giving it a neat seam finishing. So this is just the way I'm doing it. I'm matching up the both side seams together. Just follow up with what I'm doing now closely, and I'll go ahead now to use my pin to pin on this side seam that I just matched now. So after pinning this side now, I will also go to the other end and match up the both side seams together and use my pin to pin it together. So after doing this now, this is just the way it looks, and I'm going to stitch it round there. I will stitch it round there, and when I get to this other end, I will not stitch that side. And this is how it looks like after stitching it. You can decide to cut out the excess allowance after stitching it, so you can cut it out or leave it just this way. So this is the side that I didn't stitch, and I'll use this side now to turn it in out. So I will turn it out just this way, and this is how it looks like. So now this is just everything we wanted to achieve for this bucket hat, just the neat finishing, and I'm happy with the outcome of the neat finishing I have on this bucket hat. So now I will go over now to iron this place just to make it to relax very well. So I'll iron this side and everything, and this is just how it looks like after ironing it. To cover up that open part, I will stitch it round there, top stitching it, and stitch it just round there, just as normal stitches hats normally have. So this is how I made it, and this is just the stitches I made on it. So this is everything we worked on, and this is the inside of it, looking very neat and relaxed. So I went ahead also to iron it, to press it down so that it can lay more beautiful and flat. If you enjoyed this video, ensure to give it a thumbs up, subscribe if you haven't already, and if you have any question, let me know in the comment section. See you in my next video. Bye.